Did the state of South Carolina just majorly drop the ball and release a violent murderer back onto the street? I set him up with a polygraph to find out. For over a year, I've been speaking with a man in prison suspected of going on a spree of murders. I just found out that charges were dropped and he's getting released. What does this mean? Has he been innocent all along? There are so many lies and half-truths circulating around these cases, and I began to feel that it was impossible to actually get to the truth. I had almost just given up when an opportunity arose from the most unexpected place.
Can you line up a polygraph for me?
I might be able to. By the end of this video, you'll find out if the murder suspect, Kevin Mailer, aka Boston, passed the polygraph that I set him up with, as well as my final thoughts on who killed April Jones, who was responsible for Faith Roach's disappearance, and who killed Kevin Craig. Before we get to my time spent with Boston, I want to introduce you to Barry and Jimmy, two investigators for the Oconee County Sheriff's Department. Given there are so many unsolved cases in this area, it's easy to speculate up front that the police just don't care. And I've seen many comments suggesting this, as well as some going quite a bit further. But do these people actually know what's going on with these investigations, and what do the investigators have to say? Barry is 41 years old and has been in law enforcement around 17 years. He was the one that wrote up the kidnapping and murder warrants against Kevin Mailer.
Jimmy and I, we live these cases.
Yeah.
I mean, we replay these cases, I would say, minute by minute. They're always on our mind. They're constantly on our mind, but and in our hearts.
And Jimmy was actually the chief of police for the city of Clemson, South Carolina for many years. He had retired and was living a quiet life when his friend, former colleague, and current sheriff of Oconee County reached out.
Initial conversation was he wanted me to come back in and do a review of cold cases that were on file here at the agency. Also to do a review at how the agency was handling missing persons / runaways and so forth, and that if there were some changes that needed to be made to recommend those changes and see where it goes. We have pretty much completely revamped how we handle missing persons and runaways. We want to make sure that the victims of these cold cases know that we're not at the end yet. We haven't completed that. We haven't been able to bring justice or closure to those families yet, and that's our objective.
But what matters more than these words are their actions. They can say they care all they want, but what are they doing about it? Well, unfortunately, they can't go into detail on open investigations and explain everything they've done to try to solve these cases, but I do have a few ways to get some insight into how much work they have put in. In the collective few months that I spent in Walhalla, I spoke with dozens of people, followed rabbit holes that led to more rabbit holes, and was overwhelmed with the sheer amount of rumors and information circulating these cases. Pretty much everyone I'd spoke with had also spoken with these investigators.
What does it feel like when you've put a lot of work into some of these and you just can't find the answer, you just can't find the person? So when families are asking questions and they're wanting answers, and tell me about that experience.
Gut-wrenching,
Yeah.
but we're still not stopping.
While I struggled to find definitive evidence that would bring answers to this community, Barry and Jimmy were confident that they had Boston for the murder of Kevin Craig.
When the charges were announced against Mailer in the Kevin Craig case, I recall the sheriff saying that we were going to follow the evidence wherever it took us. And, you know, many people think that evidence is solid, meaning a phone or a blood spatter or an instrument that committed or was used in the commitment of a crime. And evidence is also statements. Evidence is phone conversations, all the above. And so evidence is not just so much a tangible object as it is other things that are part of the case. And so a long answer to say, we're going to follow the evidence wherever that evidence takes us. And if it takes us to Eric, then, hey, Eric, we're going to come knocking on your door.
Yeah.
You know, But wherever it takes us, that's which way we're going to go.
Yeah. So Kevin Mailer was charged with the murder of Kevin Craig.
He has not officially been charged yet,
Oh, okay.
simply because he is currently in Department of Corrections for the state.
Yes.
But the warrants have been signed, and the detainer has been placed on him within the South Carolina Department of Corrections.
Okay.
Probably shortly after the first of the year, we'll get arrangements made to quote unquote officially charge him, because a person is not officially charged until such time as the warrants have been read to them and they've been given the opportunity for a bond hearing.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So the announcement that was made was that, the warrants have been signed and the detainer has been placed on him.
Gotcha. Essentially, the process has started.
Correct.
Okay. So what happened? Well, these warrants were never served. They were written up, but the prosecutor's office would not move forward with them. One of two things is happening here. Either the investigators had enough evidence, and the prosecutor's office was being overly conservative with bringing the charges, or the investigators did not have enough evidence, and the prosecutor's office knew that they could not get a conviction. Like many times before, I found myself looking at a few possible situations without enough information to know which one is true. Just when I felt I had exhausted all of my options to find answers, one more opportunity arose to get information, and it was actually suggested by Kevin Mailer.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
What's up, bud?
Hey man, how's it going?
Are you busy?
No.
But I went up for the parole this morning, and they said that they're going to reschedule it because they couldn't come to a unanimous decision.
Oh, so I mean...
So I came back here. Yeah, it wasn't a no, but I
Yeah.
came back here and laid down. I'm like, well, even if they say no, I got 6 months left to go.
Yeah.
And then a couple hours later, they called me back up and told me that I was granted parole.
No way.
I've never not talked to them about any of the other stuff when they asked me about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can you line up polygraph for me?
I might be able to. If that's
All right.
if that's
I
something,
definitely want to.
yeah, if that's something you want to do, then
Oh, definitely.
okay. So my situation had gone from speaking to this suspect in these cases over the phone with the thought that he was going to be in prison indefinitely, to the warrants being dropped, Kevin making parole, and him being released from prison at any moment, with the offer to take a lie detector test. I knew I needed to be there when he got out, so the next day I packed my stuff, got in my car, and drove the 5 hours to Walhalla, South Carolina. So for this, why don't you go ahead and sit right here? I'll sit right here. YouTube is not the first arena I've tried to use my videography skills to make a living. When I was getting into videography, I had quit my job to start a business creating promotional content for dealerships in my area. I spent a good amount of time buying the necessary gear and months without a paycheck trying to get the business off the ground. It failed miserably, and I found myself in a place I never thought I would be, with a decent amount of credit card debt. I want to thank Purity Debt Solutions for sponsoring this video. PDS Debt is a one-stop shop to guide you on your journey to freedom from debt. I remember just how easy it was to get into debt, how much that debt caused an undertone of stress throughout all areas of my life, and just how hard it was to work my way out of that debt. PDS Debt would have been a great solution for me, as they can consolidate debts into one low monthly payment, easing much of the stress and pressure caused by multiple looming payments due throughout the month. I understand that your debt solution might be pretty similar or completely different from what mine was. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, and that's why PDS Debt has customized and tailored solutions for anyone struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there's no minimum credit score required. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, or you just want to pay off your debts faster, this program is for you. PDS Debt is offering a free debt analysis. It only takes 30 seconds. Head over to pdsdebt.com/Eric Allen to get your free debt assessment today. You'll be able to see your estimated savings, eligible creditors, and additional program details tailored to your current debt situation. Again, that's pdsdebt.com/Eric Allen, or click the link in the description below for your free debt assessment. Back to the video. As I'm setting up, he tells me he's not really feeling great about getting out because this is all overshadowed by the fact that the girl that he was with when he went to prison had cheated on him and they are no longer together. We talked for a while and I'm not sure if it was that or the cameras or the fact that it was in person, but much of this interview felt much more closed off than our phone conversations. Well, we'll go ahead and just kind of move forward. So you got out this morning.
Yep.
About 8:30. Tell me about this morning. You got out. What happened?
My daughter picked me up. My daughter and my father-in-law picked me up, and we went to eat and came back here and went to probation office.
Nice. Got all that set up?
Yeah.
Now, what about what's it called? The vocational rehab?
I'm supposed to go next week.
That's next week?
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that on the phone.
Yeah.
So that'll be next week, and they'll be able to get you set up with a job?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just kind of lying low.
Well, hopefully, I mean, with everything that's been said about me the past couple of years, it's going to be hard to find a job. But
Yeah. But that's like, they work with places that work with people getting out of prison, right?
Before I went to prison, I couldn't even go in a grocery store without people saying stuff to me,
Really?
Yeah, I didn't really go anywhere.
Is that in Walhalla or is that here too in Westminster?
Here in Westminster, Walhalla,
Yeah.
West Union,
Yeah.
Seneca.
Seneca too? Yeah.
People that truly know me, they know I'm not that kind of person. I mean,
Yeah.
it hurts. It still hurts.
Yeah.
It still hurts because I lost a lot because of that. People that I was close to told me on the phone that you're never coming home, so we got to move on.
We spoke for a while before I left, and I let him know I was still thinking about setting him up with a polygraph. To be honest, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought it might be a good idea. And I know what you're thinking. Polygraphs are not admissible in court, polygraphs can be cheated, polygraph results can be straight up wrong, and maybe you're right. I figured that this polygraph test would just be one piece of information that we could add to the stack. Also, my sit-down interview with Kevin was just not very good. I thought that maybe through this test and the examiner's interview, I'd just get a little more info out of him. Plus, he wanted to take one. So I decided that there was potential for a polygraph to be helpful in all of this, but there were some obstacles to overcome. The first obstacle was that in order to increase accuracy, polygraphs need to be specific and on a narrow topic. So I couldn't do one polygraph to cover everybody. For a few reasons, I decided to start at the beginning, that this test would be on the death of April Jones. The second obstacle was that the polygraph examiner was in Greenville, South Carolina. Kevin Mailer can't drive, so I would need to take him there and back. There was a scenario that I just really didn't want to happen. What if he fails the polygraph and I have to be alone in a car with a murderer who knows that I know he's a murderer? Thankfully, the polygraph examiner doesn't tell us right away if he passes or fails. He sends the information off to another examiner who looks it over and independently gives a reading of pass or fail. If his reading differs from the original examiner, then the test is ruled inconclusive. This process takes about 24 hours. So I would need to be in the car alone with Kevin for a few hours, but this would all be before we got the results, and for some reason I just felt okay with this whole situation. Anyways, we talked about a lot of things on the way to the polygraph, ranging from me first telling him that the polygraph is going to be on April, to Kevin telling me what it was like being a drug dealer. The dealing aspect of it. What about that?
I'll be straight up honest with you. The dealing aspect of it is more addictive than drugs.
Yeah, honestly, that doesn't surprise me.
The dealing aspect of it is, I have been told I'd be nothing my whole life, and somebody that actually sells drugs has power, and people want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you felt like needed.
Yeah. I mean, I hated it too, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hated it. I hated being woken up when I was trying to sleep. I hated having to chase people for money. I hated.
Yeah, I'm sure it had its upsides and its downsides.
I mean, I've never really had anything my whole life, and then I had it, whatever I wanted, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Is there like a status that comes with it that feels good, that is part of that addiction?
It's like, yeah. I mean, at one point I had 9 TVs in my bedroom. I mean, not that I even watch TV, but
yeah.
I mean,
yeah. But you could watch 9 at once if you wanted to. Huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and today, so we might do more polygraphs. I might come back up here. But today I actually decided to go with April. Because
I really wanted to Kevin.
Yeah.
That's all I've been hearing about.
Yeah. Because I'm gonna try to get a hold of the polygraph you said you passed on Faith.
I just didn't want nothing to do with the sheriff's department. They know I passed saying I didn't know what happened to Faith, and I didn't know where she was. So if that's the truth, then how can they say that I killed Kevin to cover up what happened to Faith?
Yeah, that doesn't
make
make
sense. I mean, because after I took that polygraph test for Faith, they never came back and talked to me.
Yeah.
Unless they came back with a picture saying, hey, do you know this dude or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They never questioned me about Faith again.
Yeah. So when they told you that you passed it, was that through an email? Did they call you? Was it in the moment?
They'd come by the house.
Okay, well, how?
But I knew anyways that I passed it because, I mean, they weren't gonna. If I didn't pass it, I wouldn't have been able to get up and leave that day.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We arrive for the polygraph and I do a quick interview with the examiner. This is available on my Patreon if you'd like to check it out. Then it was time for the test. I didn't want a bunch of big cameras in the room to potentially affect the results of the test, so I decided just obtaining the webcam footage that the examiner takes was the best option. I found the whole process of this examination fascinating and did get some new insights into the situation with April.
So, again, Kevin, my name's Nate. I'm going to be your examiner today, obviously. I'm going to go over a form here first before we do anything else. This is a hold, harmless, and release agreement. It talks about what a polygraph is, again, and what to expect. If you have any questions on this, I want you to stop me and let me know. Okay. So going over this thing, this first section right here. I do by hereby voluntarily and without duress or coercion agree to take the polygraph. Again, Kevin, nobody can make you take this.
my idea.
Okay, good. I want to see you succeed on this test.
I'm going to succeed.
Good. I want to see you succeed at this thing. That's again why we take so long at the very beginning. Because if I just plugged you up into the matrix and started the test, it doesn't do you any justice. Okay. But it takes you and I working together to make for a successful test. It's not just all on you; it's on both of us. Okay. So I need you to do 3 things for me: cooperate, follow instructions, tell the truth. You do those 3 things, Kevin, you're going to be just fine. Good. All right, let me get a little bit more background information. So, you just got out of corrections last week. When did you go to corrections?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. Kevin, what do you do for fun? Whenever you get a chance to have fun?
I haven't had a chance to do anything.
If you could do something, what would you do?
Ride motorcycles.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually important that you understand the basics about how this thing works. If you understand the basics about it, actually makes these charts much easier for me to read. And the first thing I tell everybody is this mess of wires and tubes is not a lie detector. By itself, it can't tell me if you're lying any more than that doorknob can. It's just a medical instrument that tells me what your body's doing when I'm asking you questions. That's all there is to it. Now, during the test, you're going to wear 2 of those rubber tubes right there. One's going to wrap below your heart, One's going to wrap above your heart. Those 2 metal pads are going to go on your first finger and third finger. The blood pressure cuff is going to go on your left arm. Of course, you're sitting on a motion sensor. Your feet are on motion sensors. That's all there is to this thing.
Okay.
So,
Can I take my shoes off?
you can't
Yeah,
be able to.
They my son a lot of shoes. I haven't had a chance to buy them once, and they're a little tight.
Hey, little tight? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, you get it. So, if this is not a lie detector, but it's a machine that tells me what your body's doing when I'm asking you questions, what's the real lie detector that's in this room?
Me?
Perfect. God made a perfect lie detector when he made a human body. If you and I sit and think about it, who can we tell a lie to? We can tell a lie to anybody. We might not get away with it, but who's the one person besides God you can never tell a lie to? Yourself.
Well, I could tell it, but I ain't gonna work because I'm not gonna believe it.
Because you're not going to believe it. Because you're, some people are like, well, if people who are, how can I word this? People can convince themselves of a lie. Well, you really can't. Not unless you're
Sociopath.
yeah, something like that. And even then, they know what's right and what's wrong. So I know when I've told a lie. You know when you've told a lie. So this whole mess of wires and tubes is not a lie detector. It's your own body that's the lie detector. That's how it works so well. Kevin, why do people lie?
There's all kinds of different reasons.
Like what?
To get out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
To get what they want.
Yeah. You and I can, if we sit and think about it, we can come up with all kinds of reasons why someone would tell a lie. But it always boils down to one fact. People feel threatened. For whatever reason, they feel threatened by a question. They feel like the only way they can get out of that question is to tell a lie about it. Because you and I, our brains are not wired to tell lies. They're designed to tell the truth. But our bodies are designed to deal with threats as they come along in life. And so one of the ways that we adapt as we grow older is we learn that we can tell lies to get out of threatening questions. So our brains and our body connect to. Give you an example. This pen, what color is it?
Black.
Black, yeah. You and I do that every single day. Somebody asks us a question, we calculate the answer in our head, we translate it to English, we spit it out. We do it 1,000 times a day. What's your first name?
Kevin.
Kevin. Didn't even think about it. Tell me your first name, but lie to me about it.
Mike.
Now, just that right there, I saw 3 different things that happen in your body.
I moved my finger, then I had my foot.
I can't give away all my secrets.
Well, anyway,
As soon as you did it, you knew.
Yep.
And on top of that, there's 24 other things that happen in your body whenever you tell a lie. And you can't control any of this. That's what we're looking for on the test. We're looking for those body responses you can't control. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. I always like to hear from your perspective, because this test is about you. I'm not testing anybody else. I'm talking to you, so I don't know what anybody else is saying out there. I don't know what the deal is out there, but I want to hear everything from your perspective. So one of the questions I always ask right up front, why are we here today? What do you know the reason why we're here today?
Yeah, I've been being blamed for some people being killed and people disappearing, and I want to clear my name. It's crazy. It's crazy because I've already passed the polygraph test on the first one, but they're linking the second one to the first one, even though I passed that polygraph test, they're saying I killed him to cover up the first one, which I already proved I didn't have nothing. It's crazy. And I guess when we talk about April today, and that hasn't been, nobody even said, some people said she got killed, some people said she OD'd, whatever. So,
Okay.
I would have rather have done a different one, but I'll do this one too.
Okay. So, Kevin, why have you agreed to take this polygraph?
Why did I agree to? I asked for it. I'm tired of my name being thrown around.
Is there a reason that someone would say that you did, or that you were involved?
There's a podcast about all this crap. They're trying to tie everything to me. They've made millions off of this stuff. Number 3 on the Apple most quested whatever thing.
Who's doing that podcast?
Some guy named Kirk Minahan. in barstool sports, all you got to do is Google my name or YouTube my name, and that's the first thing that pops up.
So there's a guy out there doing a podcast.
Oh, he already did it.
He's already done this
He's
podcast.
already done it. My kids have been threatened. My granddaughter's been threatened.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some kind of like little cult following.
So the only reason that people think that you had anything to do with this is because of the podcast?
I believe so.
Okay.
People don't want to accept that maybe she did fall down and get hurt, or you know what I'm saying? But she's not the only one that's doing this. That's trying to pin on me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's come up missing, or even if I was in jail, they try to blame me for it.
Why do you think this is?
The podcast, they're just trying to make money.
So, so you think that everything is stemming from this podcast?
I have kidnapping and murder charges on me for something else that I didn't do, and they dropped charges, but they're still investigating because of the podcast. And they couldn't find no evidence because it never happened.
Okay.
But the podcast people keep dragging stuff on, dragging it on, telling the families that they're going to figure this out. And all they're doing is doing this stuff for money. They don't even care what happened to people. He cares about what happened to people. That's why I'm dealing with him.
Okay, so I've just got a regular statement form here with 2 numbers on it. So next to number 1, what I want you to do is I want you to write down, I did not do anything to intentionally cause the death of April. All right. For number 2, put I did not put any foreign substances in any drugs that I've sold. Okay. All right. Now you'll sign it on that red line at the bottom. Okay. So this form is true and believable to the best of your knowledge, right? Yes, sir. All right. So this test is no longer about April. This test is all about your credibility now. Okay? Did you falsify any information on your statement? Okay. Did you omit any information on your statement? No. Okay. All right. This next question combines those 2 questions. Do you intend to answer truthfully the questions about falsifying or omitting any information on your statement?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Jumping in to explain that the examiner hooked Kevin up and the computer is going to ask him a series of questions. There is about 20 seconds between each question, and the series of questions repeats 7 times. I just show you the important questions from one of those times with space between the questions cut out.
All right, Kevin, ready to do this thing. Any questions before we begin? All right, here we go. Kevin, please remain quiet and still. The test is about to begin.
The test has now begun. Are the lights on in this room?
Yes.
Do you intend to answer truthfully the questions about falsifying or omitting any information on your statement?
Yes.
Did you falsify any information on your statement?
No.
Did you omit any information on your statement?
No.
Please remain quiet and still. The test is now complete.
And relax. Relax. All right. We are done.
I took Kevin home, and the next day we had the results emailed to us. The examiner's email read, "My quality control came up with the same opinion, so I'm very confident in the results." The report stated, "No deception indicated." I thought a lot about setting Kevin up with 2 more polygraphs, one for Faith and one for Kevin Craig, but ultimately decided against it. There was a big part of me that wanted to do more. This polygraph was beneficial for multiple reasons outside of just the result, and the examiner did a great job speaking with Kevin. I'm not certain, but I have some reasons to believe that Kevin did take and pass a polygraph in regards to Faith's case. And if he passed one for Faith, it kind of does negate the need for him to take one for Kevin Craig, as the alleged motive for him killing Kevin Craig was to cover up his involvement with Faith's disappearance. I also decided not to set him up with more because I had multiple people tell me that him passing a polygraph would not change their opinion on his guilt. And they have every right to think that. Polygraphs are not 100% accurate, and the result we got for April, as well as the results that we would get for Faith and Kevin Craig, could be wrong. So after all of this, after months in Walhalla, after hours and hours of interviews, what do I think about how April died, the circumstances of Faith's disappearance, and how Kevin Craig died? You're probably not going to like my answer. The philosopher Socrates once said, "Wisest is he who knows he does not know." To be honest, I don't like my answer. I was determined to find the truth, and I failed. I really struggled with that. Did I just come into this town and unnecessarily stir up a lot of pain and drama and emotions for a YouTube video? Was anyone actually better off because of my work? One of the things I like to lay out in my preliminary conversation with any members of the victim's family is that I can't promise that my documentary will help solve the case. The most likely scenario is that nothing concrete comes from it. There is a very small chance that something does, and that's what I hope for. But I cannot make any promises. I had to do a lot of reflecting, but I realized that I told everyone but myself that I can't make any promises. I went into this knowing that I was going to do everything I could to find the truth, that there was only a tiny chance I'd do, but that tiny chance was worth all the effort. Somewhere along the way, my expectations changed, and I felt that the metric of success for this series was definitive answers. I had to remind myself that the expectations I set for everyone else, that I should have also set for myself, meant that this series wasn't a failure because I didn't find the answers or solve these cases. I also had to remind myself that this isn't over. More people have reached out to me since I started releasing these videos. To those watching who played a part in Faith's disappearance or potentially April and Kevin's death, and I know you're watching, I do believe that one day the truth will come out and justice will be served. And I hope to play a part in that. So what's next? I already have some things in the works, but I do need ideas for future stories to cover. Two things I want to touch on here. One, I want the families of the victims on board before I officially start investigating. If your family member or someone you know's family member was killed or died mysteriously, and you think the case could potentially benefit from an investigation like the one I did in Walhalla, please reach out. Two, I want to eventually create documentaries on more than just true crime. So if there's a story that you think I could make an interesting documentary on, please let me know. Lastly, I'm going to be posting tons of extra content from this series on my Patreon. Check it out if you're interested. I'll see you on the next series.